Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be. Welcome to IAG Live, very special edition of IAG Live from Newport World Resorts here in Manila. I am currently sitting in the Hilton Manila at Madison's Cafe, and finally back in Asia after about 6 weeks traipsing around North America. So I'm absolutely delighted to be back in Asia and back doing IAG Live at the real time of 10 a.m. Fridays. And as always, I would like to introduce our intrepid studio producer, Oscar Guiaro. Come on in, Oscar.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, Oscar, see you there in Macau. I'm getting close. I'm only in Manila now. I'm only 2 hours away, not on the other side of the world. How are you? You must be in good spirits at the moment with Spain's victory.
Yeah, but we have a fierce rival. We see just Portugal there. The Iberian rivalry. Oh my God! I didn't want to see that. Only on the final, but it's fine.
Oscar,
it will be a good
Oscar,
match.
that's the biggest smile I've seen on your face for a long time. So congratulations
Thanks.
to you, and congratulations to Paraguay beating Germany. That was a real turn up, wasn't it? Amazing.
Yeah,
And England's come back as well. England's come back against the Congo, the Congolese. It's been an exciting World Cup, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the best of World Cup. We have always these surprises. It's more exciting than any other competition. That's what I like about it.
That's great. All right. Well, we're talking sport, so we should get Ben involved. Come on in, IAG Managing Editor Ben Blaschke. Come join us, Ben. You're the real sports journalist. Give us your lowdown on the World Cup so far, Ben.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a really terrific World Cup. Can you hear me, by the way? My headphones are doing weird things.
Great. I can hear you. Yep.
Yeah, so look, we've had Kylian Mbappe, and we've seen Lionel Messi, leading the race for the Golden Boot. Of course, Erling Haaland as well up there. And tomorrow morning, Andrew, I know that last week you were at the Australia-Paraguay game, and tomorrow morning it's Australia versus Egypt at 4 a.m. my time in Sydney, 2 a.m. your time over there in Asia.
Perfect for me because I'm jet lagged at the moment, and I've been waking up at about 10, 11 p.m. every night. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready. We can beat those Egyptians. We can beat the Egyptians, no problem at all. I'm very excited about that. Hopefully, we can make it to the round of 16. How great would that be?
That'd be great.
Yes, well, maybe it'll be Australia, Spain playing each other eventually, Oscar.
we can cheer each other on until the final, and then it's every man for himself.
Yeah, no, it's only on the final. Yeah, I sign now.
Yeah, they're on different halves of the draw, right? They're on different halves.
I don't know how is the split of the bracket, but it would be great. I mean,
I think we are right, Ben. We're in different halves. I'm pretty sure Australia and Spain are in different halves, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I was looking at that the other day. I think we're on different halves. So what a final that would be. That would be.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to.
We only can meet in the
know.
final, Oscar. That's the only time we can meet.
That's good.
Very good.
That's
All
good.
right. Well, we must stop all this football talk and we must talk about what we're really here to talk about, which is, of course, the Asian gaming industry. So thanks, Oscar. And I'll be back in Macau over the weekend. See you on Monday in the office. And, of course, Tuesday, our MAD. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Thanks, Oscar. And Ben, there with the fishes as always. Why don't we get into the news of the week? Oscar, bring up our first story, and Ben, you can guide us through this. Well, that gold looks a lot nicer than the gold in the real pictures that I've seen.
Yes, it does. And of course, this the 13 is always red, so the gold is a fairly new addition to the exterior of the building. Look, I thought this was just a bit of an interesting one, Andrew, because the 13 has a sordid history, a challenge history. Obviously originally envisioned by Stephen Hung, never really came to life, that vision of his, and was obviously the hope was that it would be a casino hotel, sort of satellite style. I think they wanted 66 gaming tables, but that never came to be.
Exactly
so
right.
it's never. I mean, it opened for a while as the 13, with a number of unfinished rooms, and I think you stayed there once or twice, Andrew, as well. But the 13 Palace, it's been renovated, and what are your thoughts on this, Andrew?
Somebody's got too much money. I think it's a folly. I wouldn't. I mean, it sounds contradictory because we're always saying that Macau doesn't have enough hotel rooms. So you think a hotel in Macau would do well, but who's going to stay down there? The problem is the location. Nobody's going to want to stay down there. And it's kind of a dysfunctional property unless the guys spend a lot of. I mean, I'm really interested to see it. We'll give them a chance, and we'll go down and have a look at it, and perhaps we can even do a story. Maybe we can send Pierce down there to do a story. Maybe we can interview the GM or something if the new owners are amenable to a bit of PR. And we can get a bit more detail. Perhaps we can get some pictures from inside of a room or whatever. But I remember when I stayed there thinking, this property is weird. This property is, it's meant to be uber luxurious, but it actually came across as strange. And there were a lot of different surfaces as well. Like you'd walk around a corner and it would be white marble and glass. And then you'd open a door and walk through and it would be shag pile carpet and wood paneling. And then you'd walk through a door and it would be some gaudy Chinese thing. It's a very odd building, very few windows, low ceilings, narrow hallways, just very strange, not what we're used to. So unless he's done major changes, a lot of those structural things will still exist. But it also has some interesting things. It's got that very high sort of vertical garden wall. On the inside, it's got this bizarre statue there. As you can see from the picture here, the great big sort of jewel. It's meant to look like a jewel, I think. There, the gold in the picture looks good, but when you actually get a real picture from somebody, it hasn't been touched up. I'm sure that picture's been touched up. It looks more like brown. I think the red was probably better. So, look, let's see. But I think it'll be a tough one to make a profitable property. How many rooms does it have again, Ben? I should know the answer to that. But it's not that many, is it?
No, because the rooms were all supposed to be sort of VIP, quite large style rooms. And as you say, Andrew, I think location is the biggest problem here. I mean, if you put it in the middle of the Cotai Strip, I'm sure they'd be able to fill it during, for most of the week. But, it's sort of down on the way towards Colawan. It's sort of located alongside a group of residential buildings that Jason used to live in one of those apartments many years ago. And so, it's a very unusual location for a hotel. So I always get you when you're about to drink coffee, Andrew. So
that's okay, no problem.
At the right time.
I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting one to watch, and we will keep reporting on it. And hotels in Macau are always big news because we are so short of hotel rooms. As we always say, there's 45,000 hotel rooms in Macau. Compare that to Las Vegas, 150, 160,000, depending on how you count it. When I arrived in Macau, I think there were 18,000 or 19,000 hotel rooms, something like that. So it has expanded quite a bit, but it's not nearly enough. And now with the push for premium mass, everybody is making their hotel rooms larger They're going for suites, which means combining some hotel rooms. So the key counts are actually going down rather than up. Of course, we've got Galaxy Phase 4 coming, and that will have 5 new hotels, all 5-star. So that'll add to the key count, and that'll take Galaxy up to, I believe, something like 7,000 or 8,000 hotel rooms, second only to Sands with some. I think it's 13,000, or maybe not quite 13,000. They've combined a few now, maybe some are out of commission, so maybe it's more like 12 or 11 and a half, but it's certainly more than 10,000. So if you think about adding those two together, it's probably close to 20,000 hotel rooms just between those two operators. That's nearly half the supply in the whole town. Not enough hotel rooms. We need more. And we're not really going to get that many more, are we? Because there's no new properties on the books to speak of. Wynn Palace Phase 2, maybe. Galaxy, I've already counted the Galaxy Phase 4, although there'll be a Galaxy Phase 5 at some stage, I imagine. I don't see Francis stopping any time. He's still got more land. And Scott Messenger there has mentioned vertical garden wall is going for Guinness record. I think Guinness record for the tallest vertical garden wall. I think it's about 20 stories, if I'm not mistaken, of the building the wall goes up. So it's pretty impressive. All right, let's move on. What's next? Yes, GLI. That's James Mader there in the picture. James Mader, the CEO of GLI, and I guess the founder of GLI. I've been running GLI for 3 decades or more, and GLI, for the first time ever, has taken on some equity interests. CVC, not to be confused with our sister company CDC. CVC Partners, a private equity firm, taking a majority position in GLI, and so new owners. James is at great pains to say business as usual, and to emphasise the fact that GLI just continuing on as usual. No big change from a customer point of view, but it is a big change. It's a change from James running the company to CVC having ultimate control of. They've got some seats on the board. I think it might be 3, if I remember correctly, 3 seats on the board, and so that's an interesting one. A great friend of IAG's is Ian Hughes, the Chief Revenue Officer of GLI, and also, if I'm not mistaken, the CEO of GLI Australia, an Australian who lives in Las Vegas and has done for over a decade. And he's a great friend of ours, as is Rich Horwath. Rich Horwath in running GLI in Australia. So GLI, a good partner of IAG, and interesting to see. And clearly the world's leading gaming labs company. I think in its sector, it's pretty universally acknowledged that it's the leading one. And if you want a slot machine passed, you've got to go through a test lab. So interesting thing. Interesting for GLI to be, I guess you would say, acquired. Certainly a majority interested. Anything there for you to add, Ben? I covered that pretty comprehensively.
Yeah, not a whole lot, Andrew. I mean, as you say, they are the preeminent test lab in the world. I think they're present in over 700 jurisdictions globally. As you said, James Mader, well, I sat down with James at G2E in Las Vegas last year, and for a bit of an interview where he was quite, that you mentioned, he was at pains to let people know that nothing's changing day to day for GLI. He's still CEO. He's still sitting on the board. He still have a say for his clients. It's still, business as usual for GLI. But this investment just, provides some funding, further growth for expansion, sort of really clears that long-term runway for GLI to grow into the future. I don't know how much further you grow when you've got 710 jurisdictions, but I guess there's a couple still to go.
Look, I actually think they've got some growth opportunities just as a result of gaming growing throughout the world. I think they're everywhere, everywhere they can be, but I think where they can be will expand. We're seeing the expansion of gaming in LATAM. We're seeing, hopefully, the expansion of gaming in Asia. There's some growth in Africa. And remember, it's not just being a test lab. GLI has their GLI Secure brand, which does cybersecurity, really important for our industry. They do testing for iGaming as well as bricks and mortar gaming as well. So there are growth opportunities for GLI. Anyway, let's move on.
Particularly in the online space in Asia, Andrew, there's a lot of opportunity there for that sector to grow across Asia.
Well, they've got that license now as aren't they the only accredited test lab in the Philippines to test online slot machines in the Philippines? I think they are, if I'm not very much mistaken.
Yeah, well, they certainly were when they were accredited. I haven't seen anybody else be accredited yet. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? Yes, lands Gokongwei. Interesting. PhilWeb. We've been reporting a lot on PhilWeb. And of course, IAG expert contributor and Complete iGaming expert contributor, Tonet Kyogi, is, an expert contributor for IAG, and she's on the board of this. And there's a connection there with PhilWeb. And PhilWeb is really transforming. Brian, also the CEO. PhilWeb's really transformed itself as a company in the past 6 months or so, from what they were doing to becoming a sort of a B2B supplier of platform for online gaming for bricks and mortar operators. Ben, you probably know more than me about this. We should get Tonet on to talk about this at some stage.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. As you say, PhilWeb was more traditionally known and then still is involved in retail e-games in that sector. Relatively small in terms of revenues, but as you say, the change of ownership earlier this year, they've transitioned to more of a platform provider or a services provider for online gaming. So they're essentially running the online gaming operations of a number of integrated resorts around the Philippines. Han, New Star, Okada, Newport World Resorts are all in that list of companies. They're also doing some work with FBM, slightly different. We've got an aggregation license, I believe, as well. So this is where the growth for PhilWeb particularly has really come from. So and then obviously Lance Gokongwei, whose company is the parent company of New Star, of course, as well. So This is a private investment from him, who obviously sees the growth opportunity in PhilWeb.
Yeah, interesting times, and hopefully we can get Lance to the CIG Idea Summit on September the 14th, right here, literally above me where I'm sitting here. It will be, and the floor above me. I'm at Madison's at the Hilton, as I said in the introduction. One floor up. Oh, sorry, I tell a lie. 3 floors up. 2 floors up is the Hilton Ballroom, where we'll be having that event, and we're having that unique, first time ever. We're having an online gaming day on the Monday the 14th of September, presented by Complete iGaming, the Idea Summit. So all about online gaming in the Philippines, all about online gaming in Asia Pacific, but that essentially means all about online gaming in the Philippines, a little bit outside. We've got what's happening in New Zealand happening, and there's stuff to talk about in Australia as well. There are government monopolies for online gaming in Japan and Hong Kong. So there's a bit to talk about for online gaming, and hopefully we can get Lance or one of his people to come and speak at that. I'm sure we will. I'm sure Tonet will speak at that event, but that'll be a great little event. So if you're interested in online gaming in the Philippines and the way it interacts with bricks and mortar casinos, get yourself along to that. Go check it out, iagexpo.com. Everything is there. Registration currently open. So go and register yourself on iagexpo.com. Okay, next one, Oscar. Oh, this is coming up on Tuesday, Ben. We're very lucky to have these chefs.
Yeah, this is a bit unique, Andrew. We've been running Macau After Dark since 2019, but this is, I think this is a really unique one, with 3 Michelin-star chefs from SGM, from Grand Lisboa Palace, actually curating the menu and cooking the food for our guests. So it's going to be a pretty spectacular menu, I think, for those attending Macau After Dark on Tuesday. Andrew, it's a shame I won't be there. Maybe you can post some of that food to me.
Look, I mean, if you were going to go to a 3 Michelin-star restaurant, you're going to pay through the nose for it, and rightly so. Or you can just come to Macau After Dark on Tuesday night and go to 3 of them at once. I mean, that's what I'd be doing if I were you. Look, it's fantastic. We're so lucky, and thanks to our friends at SJM for doing this for us. It's so nice of them. And, SJM, they've got a beautiful property down there, Grand Lisboa Palace. And they are known for their food and beverage, SJM. They are really known for their great. I mean, I'm a big fan of the 8. It's been there forever. It's a great restaurant. Of course, Robichon Dome up the top of some of the older, more traditional ones. But the Zuicho, the Japanese at Grand Lisboa Palace is fantastic. There's just some really, really great restaurants at SJM. And here you can read, go to asgam.com, asgam.com, and find the story. And you can read about these chefs there. Fabiano Palambini, head chef at Don Alfonso, and Oscar's helping me out here by scrolling down. Herlanda Fernandez at Mesa, another great restaurant at Grand Lisboa Palace. And who's the third one, Oscar? Well, that was the third one. Who's the second? Oh, Ken Chong, of course. That's right. Palace Garden. Palace Garden, what a great restaurant. Another great restaurant, an unusual setting. So, I mean, there's just some absolutely fantastic restaurants there. So if you're in Macau, don't forget about Grand Lisboa Palace. Get yourself down to all those restaurants down there because they are really, really great. And we're going to have all 3 of these chefs at the event, I believe, serving themselves. So serving our guests, not serving themselves. They themselves will be serving our guests. So it's going to be a great night on Tuesday night. It's going to be a packed house, and at the Garden House. And the venue, the Garden House as well, is very. Not many people will have been to that venue. It's relatively new, and a very interesting and lovely indoor-outdoor venue with the beautiful gardens around it. I think it's going to be a great night on Tuesday night. We're going to have a lot of fun. So if you are hesitating about whether to come or not, you've got an invitation. Please do. And if you haven't got an invitation, because it is invitation only, and you're seeking one, get in touch with IAG. Perhaps we can get you one. All right, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? Yes, Sean McCreery here now where I am in Manila after leaving Sands in Macau, Ben.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of change, at Solaire and at Bloomsbury in recent months or in recent years. Of course, Tom Arasi departed as president and COO probably 18 months ago now, I think. Of course, Greg Hawkins is there now. We've seen Cyrus Sharifat depart. He's gone to Wynn Marjan Island. We've seen Sean come in. We saw Daryl Bruce has joined Solaire as well. I've seen gaming there at Solaire. And Damien Quayle, of course, overseeing North, Andrew.
And just sorry to interrupt you, but GM Pietro Isipi as well moved from, he was the head of hotels at Solaire, moved to Wynn Marjan Island, just like Cyrus did. So there's been quite a bit of move in our industry. Wynn Marjan taking some people, and Sean leaving Sands China and going over to Solaire Entertainment City as the COO. So we've got Damien Quayle as COO of Solaire North. We've now got Sean McCreery as COO of Solaire Entertainment City, both reporting into Greg Hawkins as COO of Bloomsbury, President and COO of Bloomsbury, overseeing the whole thing. And at some stage, there'll be a Solaire Cavite as well, and there'll be a COO of that as well. Maybe I can get the gig. Somebody's going to be in that job, and he's got a great team there. Does Mr. Razon, I'm hearing this week, while I'm going to be careful about what I say, but I am hearing this week while I'm here in Manila that things are looking up a little bit and that things have stabilized, and if anything, turned the corner, visitation up a little and business up a little. So I want to say collywobbles, but only Victorians will understand what collywobbles are. The nervousness around GGR in the Philippines perhaps can end, because we might have just turned a corner and start to stabilise. I think that's what's going on there. So we wish Sean luck in the role at Solaire.
Agreed.
Okay, very good. Big words there from Ben.
Very insightful.
Adding to the conversation. All right, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? This was super interesting, and I think we broke this, didn't we? And then everybody else followed us, of course, as they always do.
Yeah, I mean, I stumbled across this. Was a release from the official press agency of Kazakhstan that Lawrence Ho and Jeff
Only IAG is monitoring the official press agency of the Kazakhstan government. Only we are doing that. Everybody else just jumped on the bandwagon when they saw it in IAG. Sorry, I had to say it. Sorry, go on, Ben.
Yeah, the stuff you come across during your daily search for news stories, Andrew. But yeah, that was very interesting. So we've seen the photo there that Lawrence Ho and Jeff Davis there meeting with officials from Kazakhstan.
I don't think it was Jeff. It was Evan, wasn't it? I think it was Evan on his left, not Jeff Davis. I think it was Evan Winkler.
So I thought it was, it could be Evan.
Oh, we might have got that wrong. Oh my God. If we've got that wrong, we better correct that. That's okay. I think it's Evan. Let's double check that later. It could be Jeff, because Jeff does a lot of the development. Jeff Davis was a bit hard to tell in that picture, isn't it? But Jeff Davis was very involved in Thailand for Melco. And I think he's generally the developmental guy. So let's go check that out. We'll double check that. We'll see whether it was Evan or Jeff. It might be my mistake. 4.4K views of that story too. Very interesting story. Sorry, Ben, continue on. I apologize for interrupting you.
So Kazakhstan is very focused on developing a broader tourism industry at the moment, and they have an area located down to the south of the country where they're developing a bit of a city of the future. So this city will have a large tourism element, and they obviously want to develop casino gaming alongside all sorts of other tourism attractions to really boost the economy there. So, I mean, Andrew, obviously Melco and Lawrence he's always had an eye out for opportunity globally. I mean, probably apart from Genting, he's one of the most global operators, obviously with a presence in Macau, Manila, Cyprus, Sri Lanka. He was obviously looking very closely at Japan and would have loved an opportunity there. And so it's probably no surprise. I reached out to Melco when I saw this story, and they responded that, of course, they'll always look at these opportunities. This meeting was exploratory in nature. Of course, it's still very early days in this development in Kazakhstan. But it's interesting, I mean, we always talk about, where is growth coming in the future in this industry? Well, there's always opportunities like this popping up from time to time in different places around the world.
Absolutely. And Kazakhstan, of course, famous for two things. We have to say Borat. But in all seriousness, Kazakhstan, the largest landlocked country in the world, very famous for that. It's actually a really, really big country, Kazakhstan, by area. And it's obviously completely within our remit in Asia. And there's been talk of gaming in Kazakhstan, this kind of gaming expansion in Kazakhstan for a very long time, as there is in Mongolia from time to time. This comes up from Mongolia. So they're very interesting. And as I posted I actually posted this one on LinkedIn and put a little comment there saying, you can't fault Lawrence for trying, because he's pretty adventurous, isn't he, in what he does. I mean, he's got, as you say, Macau, Manila, City of Dreams Mediterranean, obviously run by our great friend Grant Johnson there, and in Cyprus, and of course the Sri Lanka property that I went to early this year, and we did a cover. Was it a cover story? I think it was cover. Or was it major secondary? It might have been a major secondary. We did a big story on City of Dreams Sri Lanka. That's the partnership with Keels and the asset light strategy they're doing there. And you can certainly see that Lawrence is keen to expand. I mean, as you say, Japan. It's at one stage looking at Melbourne, although that famously went a bit pear-shaped, but and Lawrence lost some money on that. But that's okay. I mean, that's business. So he's got a growth mindset, doesn't he? He's got a growth mindset, and he's looking for opportunities. And you've got to congratulate someone that thinks in that way and has a go, and isn't set in his ways, and he's looking for opportunities. So I think that's great. And let's see if something happens in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to throw in too, Andrew, that we were sort of just in discussions with Melco and sort of doing a bit of marketing for them around their Japan interest there, and that never came to fruition. But geez, that was a spectacular looking development. I thought the plans that Melco put together for Yokohama, that would have been a spectacular integrated resort.
It was magnificent. And remember, isn't there a website? There's a website up there with, and as they departed Japan, they put this website up, and it had the plans of what could have been, and it had a beautiful fly through. We must find that website. And I remember talking to Melco, and they said, we're putting this website up because people will stumble across it as time goes on. And now with Japan maybe having another go, perhaps we should do a story on that, Ben, next week, and just find that website and do a little story and a little reminder for people. And then we can talk about it at IAG Live next Friday. And we can actually show that great video of what they planned. I don't know if you want to make a note about that. Let's do that next week, because it really was what they planned to do in Yokohama was great. It was really good, really, really nice property. So it would have been fantastic for Yokohama, but unfortunately that mayor came in and that was the end of that. All right, enough of that. Let's move on. What's next? Well, I mean, more expansion, more growth, more thinking outside the box. This was super interesting. Craig Billings is really personally involved in this.
Yeah, and it's funny, a few people reached out to me after I wrote this story, just talking about this production company that Wynn has developed, and saying, they've been to some of these shows and they're truly unique, truly impressive. So, I mean, Punch Drunk is known for a sort of immersive style theatre production where the audience is sort of interacting, and you wander into special spaces and all sorts of different things, which I believe is sort of part of what they're looking at for Wynn Marjan Island, is some sort of very immersive theatre show, not just sitting down watching a show, but the audience being part of something. So I'm actually pretty keen to see this, Sandra. Wynn Marjan Island, they've been announcing something new and interesting sort of, pretty regularly over the past year and a half or so. Everything from sort of restaurants and the entrance lobby, and even the accommodation for their staff is all pretty spectacular and different. So this is sort of the latest in their announcements of what to expect when it opens next year.
Look, I can't say enough about this property. I think it's going to be the most beautiful property in the world, Al Marjan Island, when it opens. I've seen it twice now. Once I got the hard hat tour last year. I was there early this year, just before the war broke out, which thankfully seems to be now resolved. I think, to be honest, I think realistically we've got to say they won't make the March 2027 deadline that they originally, not deadline, but date that they originally announced. I think that's probably realistic, given, I mean, we don't know, we're just speculating, but they probably won't make that, I don't think, given what happened in Iran, just across the Strait of Hormuz, just above Ras Al Khaimah. But now that's all settled down. It was always going to settle down at some point. They'll be straight back into it. And shout out to Gemma Acton, the VP of Marketing, and to Rebecca Hall, who's in charge of PR there for Al Marjan. I met them both in Las Vegas when I was in Las Vegas last week, about 10 days ago. And I sat down and had a good chat with them about the property and what's going on there. They both live in Ras Al Khaimah, but they happened to be in Las Vegas at Wynn at the time. I also met with a couple of the other senior executives at Wynn who shall remain nameless. And look, they're really excited about this property, and so they should be. It is magnificent. What I've seen of it so far, I've seen a full room mocked up, and I can't say anything about it, of course, but I'm just telling you, it's going to be a great property. And it could well be the best IR in the world, I think, when it opens. And Craig Billings is a very smart man, and it's great to see him getting involved with this unique, out of the box kind of idea. Because the one thing is, if you're going to do something in the UAE, you want to be good, because the competition there is fierce. I mean, they're all of the best things in the world. There's no shortage of money in the UAE, as we all know, and it's just fantastic what they're doing there. So I hope they can follow through. I'm sure they will. Wynn being Wynn, I'm sure they will follow through on it, and that they will, run through the tape hard, and it'll be great. I'll be there if I possibly can. I will be there at the opening, and I'm very excited to see the property. And I'm just talking it up because I just think it deserves to be talked up. The way that they've approached this has been really smart, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful property. And there's a lot of activity going on around that Al Marjan Island as well. It's not going to be just, like when Venetian first came into Macau, it was like a spaceship had landed in the middle of Kotai and there was nothing around it. It's got there are other hotels being built up around that area. There is other business activity. There are other attractions on the island. That is going to become quite a tourist centre. And the emir or the emirate, I should say, of Ras Al Khaimah, and the emir himself are very, very keen to make tourism a key touch point of Ras Al Khaimah. It will become known as the tourist place to go. And it's 40, 50 minutes up the road from Dubai Airport, up that amazing freeway. You can just fly up there at 100 miles an hour, and you can be there probably quicker than you can be in downtown Dubai, to be honest, given the traffic in Dubai. So, I think it's going to be fantastic. All right. Great story, Ben. Good story. What's next? Yes, another strategic move, and possibly prompted by what's going on with Barry Dilla's People Inc.
Well, yeah, I think that's one of the key reasons I put this up to discuss today, Andrew, because I guess this move makes a lot of sense anyway, because MGM China, located on the border of mainland China, obviously the MGM Resorts Group has this hotel company in mainland China that owns doesn't own, but it operates 8 hotels in mainland China. It's got another 12 under development, I believe. So obviously, and that's all strategic in itself, but sort of the fact that MGM China is buying that business out. Yeah, is this related, Andrew, to this Barry Dilla's offer to buy out MGM Resorts?
Well, I've actually stayed at the one in Sanya. Very nice, very beautiful resort style. Sanya they describe as they always call it the Hawaii of China, and it is it's south of Macau. It's nearer the equator than Macau is. It's a hot beach environment. I forget the exact name of the company. I'm going to get it wrong. I think it's Dai Yao Tong or something like that. You probably have it in the story. The name of the company, but it's MGM, and it was really clever of them to. I don't know if Oscar can find it and double click on it, but it's very clever of them to. No, it starts with D, Oscar. If you can find the name of the company, maybe it's not the story. But it's the company that runs. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Diao Yutai. Yeah, and so that's MGM China in the mainland, and very clever of MGM to do that, because obviously you can't have gaming in the mainland. We all know that. But it's clever of them to link the brand so that there is brand recognition when people come to Macau. And it's also great support for the mainland Chinese government that they're developing stuff in mainland China. I'm sure mainland China government very happy that MGM putting their weight behind development within the mainland, not just in Macau. So this is a smart thing to do for MGM, and has been a smart thing for them to do it's been 20 years, I think, they first started doing this. And now with this bid for MGM Resorts by Barry Dilla's People Inc. In Las Vegas, which when I was in Vegas last week was all that anybody could talk about, was that and the Caesars one as well with Tillman Fertitta. That was the hot topic. We've seen, first of all, Pansy sell her 1.4% of MGM Resorts, the parent company, for some, if I remember correctly, it was 140 million Hong Kong, I think. Good result for her at over $50 a share. I think the only time it's been over $50 a share for quite some time. So she rode the crest of the wave there on the announcement, and good luck to her there. So we've seen that, and now we've seen this passing of the baton of the mainland China interest from MGM Resorts to MGM China. So it really does look like they're setting up for MGM Resorts in the US and MGM China in China to part ways as part of the takeover, and that's probably something you would expect to happen. A company like People Inc. probably wouldn't want a position in mainland China, I wouldn't imagine. So, a very US company. Maybe just didn't have the local knowledge, or just didn't want to have that exposure to mainland China. So that'll be interesting. And who would the new owners of MGM China be? And would it be called MGM China? I'm sure it would, but they'd have to license the brand, I guess, or would the brand be sold with it? Who would be the acquirer? I mean, Pansy owns what, 20, remind me, Ben, 22, 27% or something?
It's around 22% of MGM China. So yeah, that's all to be seen. I mean, the other question, Andrew, is divesting of MGM China would be one thing. What about Japan? It'd be interesting to see, would MGM still see Japan as something they'd be happy to keep on the books, or would they look to divest that as well and just get out of Asia altogether?
Well, that's a really interesting one. I mean, I guess they could just sell MGM Resorts, could just sell their shares on the open market at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange and just put. I mean, that would be a swamping of shares onto the exchange, and everyone would know what they're doing. You'd imagine there'd be some institutional placements, perhaps. So that's that question. But then just to your question about MGM Resorts, that is an interesting question. I have heard on the grapevine that they probably would. It would make sense that Japan would go as well, for the same logic as China would go. You would think that because MGM Resorts have been developing Japan directly, right? It hasn't been an MGM China; it's been direct. So Ed Bowers and all of that, and Bill Hornbuckle have been developing directly. So there could be an argument to keep Japan within the MGM Resorts fold. The alternative argument could be, look, it's Asia. We want to focus on the US. That's what this is all about. I think we need to ask Mr. Dillard, don't we? He would be the one with the answer. So, and noting that he is already on the board of MGM Resorts. So he'd be recusing himself, I imagine, for any board decisions on this. But that's really interesting as well, isn't it? Because the MGM Japan in Osaka now just some 4 years away from opening, if they stick to the 2030 deadline, which is starting to look more and more solid that they may actually make 2030. Interesting times. All right, let's move on. Interesting times for MGM. Okay, all right, what's next? Oh, yes, well, I didn't think this was too much, but you go on, Ben.
Look, this was more around, obviously, GGR results came out for Macau for June early this week.
World Cup.
18.5 billion MOP, a little bit lower than expected, but still in the range because of the World Cup. So everybody is sort of expecting that revenues will be a little bit down over June and into July while the World Cup runs. As a result, analysts just downgraded their forecast for Macau for the rest of the year. Look, the outlook for Macau for the rest of the year is that pretty steady. I think we're in a pretty steady Macau sort of settled down into what it is now. So there's not going to be any major surprises up or down, I don't think. Growth, still expecting slight year-on-year growth, about 3.5%. Some analysts still think more like 5%. And look, that's pretty healthy, Andrew.
Look, the World Cup doesn't go for the rest of the year, so I don't really see. And wasn't the downgrade only like 0.5% or something? It was only a small number, wasn't it? Or half a billion lower estimate for the year. So, I don't think it was a huge deal. I think we're very stable in Macau. I think the most notable thing about Macau at the moment is the stability, how the numbers are coming in pretty consistently around that minimum 2 billion US, 2 to 2.7 billion US every month. That's a good number. That's a healthy number with no junkets or very, very few junkets. It's probably more profitable, or at least as profitable as high watermark 2013, 45 billion for the year. And I think Macau is just riding high right now, doing great work. Expenses are down a little bit. Actually, they're down a lot on pre-COVID. Probably up a little bit on last year, of course. Inflation. We live in a little bit more inflationary times than we have in recent history, due to various political decisions being made in the US. I'll leave it at that. So I think Macau is very, very stable, and as I've commented before, I think the main thing here is that the mainland Chinese government is probably very happy with Macau right now. There's probably things that have gone on for decades historically in Macau that the mainland Chinese government hasn't been happy about, and those things are no longer happening with the departure of the junkets and a few other things as well. New gaming law that was passed in preparation for the new concessions in 2023. The new gaming law that was passed in 2022. I think the mainland Chinese government would probably be very happy about some of the provisions in that new gaming law. If anyone's interested in that, just search asgam.com. I wrote a for a lengthy 14-part series about all that back in 2022 as that was all rolling out. Still, sometimes I go back and read those stories. Quite interesting. With the benefit of hindsight, it was 4 years ago now. So look, I think Macau, steady as she goes. And okay, maybe we're down $500 million, maybe we're not. That's my take on all that. Next one, Oscar. This is yours, all yours, Ben. You're the Australia expert.
Andrew, I could rant on this for an hour probably, but I'll try to keep it brief. First of all, the story itself is about the fact that the government has tabled to Parliament its new gambling ad restrictions, and those restrictions are generally around limiting the number of ads that can be aired at certain times of the day, during prime time, during major sporting events that children will be watching, a couple of other parts to this as well. The side story to all of this is that this has followed a 2023 Senate inquiry report, which had various recommendations, of which one of them was a complete ban on all gambling advertising. Another was to develop a national gambling regulator rather than state-based, as Australia is right now. Now, a couple of things I just want to say about this, Andrew, and I'm sure you'll join in afterwards with your thoughts. But one problem I have with that 2023 inquiry is that it went in with a mandate. I believe it was really all about gambling harm, and that's obviously an important topic. But it wasn't really there to have a debate or to discuss the industry. I think it had a predetermined outcome. And I should mention that this gambling reform is also headed off to another Senate inquiry under pressure from some other politicians, which I believe also has a predetermined outcome of what certain people want to achieve. So no, I don't believe it will be a genuine discussion about what's best for the Australian people or for the industry or for anybody in general. I believe it has a predetermined outcome, and that is to try and ban gambling advertising altogether. And I think that is a disastrous way to protect people, Andrew, because you're basically taking away any advantage for licensed operators without having any real impact on the illegals. So really, you're actually, in my opinion, you're risking causing a lot more harm than doing further good by that sort of approach. It's a bit of a head in the sand approach, but that's the way I see this going, Andrew. And I'm going to be writing something about this in the coming week as well, because nobody seems to be acknowledging this fact at all in Australia at the moment.
Australian regulators and government officials having their head in the sand. Who would have possibly thought that could happen? And it's so sad, because both you and I are Australian, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing how backwards our governments plural are, and how weak-willed they are in terms of just caving to ill-informed public opinion and media. I want to choose my words carefully. Media pressure, let's just say. And isn't it interesting? Our neighbours to the east, New Zealand, a country of only, I think, about 5 million people, 20% the size of Australia, they have their act together way more than Australia has. And normally, New Zealand looks to Australia as a big brother in what to do, and we should be looking at New Zealand. And wasn't it refreshing to see Paul James come and speak at Regulating the Game conference in March this year, and basically say, look, this gambling, this online gambling, it's happening anyway. All we are doing is taking it from illegal to legal so that we can tax it, regulate it, and put in harm minimisation measures. This is not going to create $1 more of gambling turnover, because it is already happening. This is not. We're not creating a gambling industry. We're simply just moving it from black market, unregulated, unlicensed, no rules, no guardrails, to the opposite: regulated, licensed, guardrails, harm minimisation in place. Australia continues to refuse to do that, and you are 100% right. I was interested to see whether you were going to make the point or not, and you did. You hit the point that if you don't counterintuitively, if you don't allow advertising, now the punters don't know who's legal and who's illegal. Everyone looks the same. So if you've got a legal operator like Sportsbet, for example, in Tame, Sportsbet is insane, right? You should know that.
Sportsbet is Flutter, I believe.
I think it's Flutter. Yeah, actually. Sorry about that. It's my online gaming. I've been out of Australia too long. But so you got a legal operator like Sportsbet, right? And they can advertise, they can say that they're regulated, they can follow the rules, and everybody knows it, and they become a household name. Good. Now you just make Sportsbet the same as any illegal dark black market operator licensed in Anjouan or Curacao or whatever it might happen to be, that is totally illegal, not paying any tax, no AML controls, no harm minimization, could be cheating, not paying out winning bets, all of that. And you've made them exactly the same by having no advertising. Now, should there be blanket advertising left, right, and centre like there has been in Australia in the past? No, there should not. There should be controls on gambling advertising, just like there are controls on alcohol advertising, just like there are controls on advertising for other vice products. But as President Eisenhower said, and I am want to quote, the extreme left and the extreme right are both in the gutter, and the good part of the road is down the middle of the highway. You know, you go one extreme, it's bad. You go the other extreme, it's bad. And they're just going from one extreme to the other, and it's going to be a bad outcome for the people of Australia, unfortunately. So there you go. I agree with your rant. There's my rant. And Ben, seems like you want to say something.
Yeah, I just want to throw in, Andrew, that there seems to be this view in Australia that there are two options, and that's either people are going to gamble or they're not going to gamble. Those are not the two options. People are going to gamble because people enjoy gambling. You cannot stop them. If you do not provide a pathway for them to do so, they will find another means to do so. What you really should be doing is accepting that fact, and Australia has not accepted that fact yet, despite the fact it's a very large gambling population, but Australia has not accepted that fact. What they need to be focusing on is making sure that people who want to gamble have a safe place to do so, and that's on licensed operators. So removing this visual opportunity for people to understand who the licensed operators are is really not achieving that goal whatsoever, and it's just a blind spot that so many people in Australia have right now.
Well, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a great example, right? I used to do a bit of professional sports betting. I don't do that anymore. Haven't done that for many, many years. I don't bet on sports. But this year I have had precisely 2 bets on sport, purely recreational, purely entertainment. I think, Ben, you know what they are. I had a US $500 bet on Australia in the World Cup to beat United States at 4 point something to 1. And I had a similar bet, same amount, US $500 on Australia to beat Paraguay in the Paraguay game that I attended in person. I lost both bets. So my result on gambling this year is minus US $1,000. And that's totally okay. That is totally recreational for me. It was purely a bit of fun. Do I have a gambling problem? No. I was just having a little bit of fun. How did I bet those 2 $500 bets? I'll tell you how I bet them. The least friction path possible. So the first one, I was actually at the George at Durango, a casino in Las Vegas, having a nice dinner and watching it on the big screen with a friend of mine. And I bet it in the sports book at Durango. I was right next to the George, which is a sportsman's bar with big screens. And I had a fun time. I had a great meal. And I thoroughly enjoyed losing my $500. It was fine. And United States beat us, and we scored an own goal. It was actually 1-1 because we scored 1 goal. Just it was in our net theirs. And the other one, I'll be totally honest what I did. I was there at the game. I was in California, so I couldn't get really, there was no real avenue for me to bet. But one of the people who were with me had a Kalshi account. So I gave him $500 cash and said, could you put it on for me on Kalshi, please? And of course, it wasn't a bet. It was a financial contract, if you ask Kalshi. Because it's a prediction market, but we all know it's a bet. And that's how I did it. So how did I bet? I bet in the path of least friction, the easiest, most convenient way for me to have a bet at a time. I was a recreational player. I didn't really care what odds I got. I didn't really care whether I got 4.2 to 1 or 4.6 to 1. What difference would that have made to me? That would have made, let's say it was that, and that's a big difference. 0.4 of 500 is a couple of $100. In the year, in a whole year's gambling, I probably won't have another bet, or maybe I'll have another one. If Australia makes the final or something, I might have another one. But, that's a good example, isn't it? A recreational player just, I want to go the path of least friction. So it's what you see and what's available to you that you'll go for. And if the advertising is allowed, they'll go for what they see in the advertising. And if it's not, they'll jump on the internet, try and find somewhere to bet. They might find a legal one, they might find an illegal one. And that's the truth of the matter. And anybody that understands gambling, like we do, and like I think most of the viewers here understand that as well. And it's just so sad that Australia has such a backward position in relation to all this. So anyway, we've both had a bit of a rant about that, and we've said this in the past as well. And it would be good if Australia would get its act together on gambling, and perhaps we can get a piece written by Dr. Andrew. What's Andrew's last name? I've gone blank. Dr. Casino.
Andrew Russell.
Andrew Russell, he's fantastic. He writes great pieces on Australian gambling. Perhaps we could throw him this video and ask him to write an opinion piece on it, because he's a very good writer about the Australian gambling industry. All right, enough of that story. Okay, what do we got next? I think we must be getting close to the end, mustn't we? We are. We're there. So there we go. So sorry, that was quite a long one, but we both wanted to have our little rant on Australia, being Australians. Thank you, Henry. Another insightful episode. Thank you for sharing. Well, thank you for watching, Henry. Henry Fonseca, watching on LinkedIn. Of course, you can watch IAG Live on LinkedIn. You can watch it on Facebook, and you can watch it on YouTube, usually Fridays at 10 a.m. This format we do IAG Live in is continuing, but we have some developmental plans for IAG Live in the months ahead. We will be doing IAG Live direct from the IAG Expo, from the floor of the show. Here are September 14 to 17. I think our Kelsey Wilhelm, our senior contributing editor for IAG, will be taking part in that, and you and Kelsey, Ben, will be working together on that, no doubt. And some other IAG Live formats on the way soon, as well as what we do on Fridays at 10 a.m. So that's it from me. I will be back to Macau, Hong Kong, and then Macau on Sunday, so that I can be at the MAD event on Tuesday night. Really looking forward to that. What are you doing on the weekend, Ben? Any wine trips for you?
No great plans this weekend, Andrew. So hopefully sit at home, have some nice food and wine at home, watch some football, and good luck to the Socceroos tomorrow morning as well.
Yes, got to beat Egypt. Come on, we can do it. I've all of a sudden become a very patriotic Australian watching it. So nice. It's so fun to watch them. I really hope we beat Egypt. Sorry to any Egyptians that might happen to be watching. All right. Well, that's it from me, and that's it from Ben. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Say bye, Ben.
Bye, Ben.
And we'll see you next time on IAG Live. Bye for now. See ya.